Welcome to Motivational Mondays. This is Fred Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today we're going to be discussing responses 1, 2, and 3. But before we start that, make sure to like and subscribe so that you could get future content like this. So what am I talking about when I say responses 1, 2, and 3? So I'm going to first start with a story and then you kind of get the gist of it. But it's an important point, so make sure you follow through. Number 1, okay, this is the story. So a few years ago, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, we were coming out of the office and, one of the shopkeepers right next to the office, I saw him responding to something and he was at rage. He was yelling, he was screaming at the guy and I calmed him down, older gentleman, and I calmed him down. And about a few minutes later, after spending with him, after he's calmed down, I said to him, what had just happened? So he told me exactly what had just happened. And I said, doesn't seem like you responded appropriately. I said, do you think that you could have responded a little bit less volume? I mean, relative to what had just happened, I don't remember what just happened, but relative to what happened, did you respond accordingly? And he kind of like said, no. And here, this is an older gentleman, and I can imagine over the years, he's responded the same way to some of the same things that were at that 1 or 2 level, and he responded like 10. So look at these 2 levels, okay? There's the stimulus, okay? So you could do from 1 to 10, and the response, which is 1 to 10. Now, if it's a 1, okay, something agitating, that's a 1, and you respond as a 10 every single time to whatever number that is, that's disproportionate. That is disaster waiting to happen no matter what you do. Now, the key is to respond to whatever is happening accordingly to whatever agitation it is, right? If God forbid there's some sort of danger to a human being, you respond as a 10, okay? You scream and you yell and you say, hey, stop, don't run into the street, right? That's appropriate. But if something, someone did something that's, just agitating and you respond as a 10, you are then setting yourself up for amazing failure. And not just interpersonally, but the next conversation is going to the whole dialogue is just going to be set into motion into disaster. So there's the situation, okay, and there's how we respond to the situation, and it has to be leveled. Now, many a time, and this is really the way to find yourself and kind of check yourself when you do respond to these type of things over, with over exaggeration, it's that we're triggered by something in the past. So the stimulus, whatever agitation that we have, okay, if it's something that reminds us of something that was much greater in the past, we associate it with that, and then we respond as a 10. So, for example, okay, in trading, it's very similar. If I lose $5 in a trade, which is not anything particularly significant, but if I lose that $5 on a trade, and I throw a fit and I scream and I yell and I cry and I take the keyboard and I break it over the computer, that's an over-exaggeration, right? But if I lose $10,000 or $5,000, depending on what your income and what your capital reserve is, when you lose something of significance, right, your response should be, significant as well. Now, the key is in those type of situations is really to limit that response, okay, into any such kind of negative or disastrous kind of behavior so that you could get back into yourself and get back into your state, okay, into your equilibrium so that you could move forward. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm actually saying this is probably the most difficult thing a human being can do in anything that they do in life. And these are the challenges that we go through altogether as just being human, right? It's that we're not really fighting against the world. We're fighting about how we respond to things vis-a-vis the world. And I think that this is a very important lesson, and not just interpersonally, but also in business as well. And the faster we're able to get back to our center, to our state of balance, we can then move forward and that much more be more productive in the business world, so we can move into future businesses or future opportunities, but also interpersonally. Because if we get into if I respond to something that someone says disproportionately, they will then, even if they didn't mean it initially, right? They didn't initially, the stimulus initially wasn't disproportionate, but then they will come out, you know, defensive or offensive, depending how they're coming out on that level as well. And then that's where the clashes happen. So got to keep the temperament down. And the only way you do that is just be mindful about what is triggering you and what you can do in order to appropriately respond to the particular stimulus. And, you know, it's all kinds of things. It's kids doing certain things, and, you know, sometimes you just yell at them, but they didn't do something so bad, right? Or, you know, or we don't overreact when they do something that's very dangerous to them, right? They run into the street. We say, don't run into the street. So it's like the kids get the missed messages, and I think that that's something that we all have to work on, because to really appropriately be there in a proportional way is taking a lot of practice. Number one, you can't control it so often because, you know, it's based on a stimulus that usually catches you off guard. But on the times that you can control it, right? On the times that there are opportunities throughout the day that give you the opportunities to, in fact, control it, you could then take advantage of it and really galvanize, I love that word, galvanize in that particular situation. Thank you for joining me for Motivational Mondays. We'll see you next week.